Hey guys, in this video me and my friend Diamond Ninja are gonna survive 100 days in the Star Wars universe. We will have a large scale battle at the Hoth base, survive the harsh and lifeless deserts of Tatooine, find an old Jedi that is gonna teach us the ways of the Force, visit the Valley of the Dark Lords to loot an old crypt, enter Kamino facility to uncover a dark secret, and also visit the Death Star in an all-out battle. Will we make it? Will we survive the 100 days? Tune in to find out. It is day 0, location, planet Hoth. I just completed my training and was given a rifle by my commander. We were ready to go and defend the base against the droids. But while running out, the battle has already begun. It was fierce, and the droids had armored tanks which were hard to bring down. And after a while we started losing, so we had to quickly escape. We started running to the closest flying ships we found, and quickly started taking off to escape this battlefield. But we didn't surrender. No, this was a tactical retreat to regroup, and come in with much bigger numbers. And our first task would be to get to Kamino, and find some allies to help us with regrouping and also supplies. It took a long time to travel through space to reach Kamino, the place where all the clone troopers were made and trained. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough fuel on these ships to reach it, so we had to make a quick stop at a local planet called Tatooine. It was a sand planet filled with nothing but barren wasteland, bounty hunters, and sand people. And as we got here, we were really low on fuel. We had to make a quick landing to avoid the ships being completely unresponsive. As I followed my friend for the best spot, we didn't stick the landing well enough. And as I woke up, we were now stuck on Tatooine without any ships or ways to get out of here. But we knew there was a Republic base somewhere around here. We also saw a little rundown village, and coming closer to it, we noticed the clone troopers standing guard. It was good news to find some civilization, and upon searching a few chests, I found a pair of laser rangefinders. And going out a little bit, in the distance I saw a hangar with what looked like a ship, so we started running there to see what it could be. And while running to the top of the cliff, the weather and temperature was very hot. Tatooine is a desert planet, and the temperatures reached so high we didn't even know how long we could survive out here. And at the top we see a bunch of monsters inside the hangar. We use our blasters to shoot them, but then mine breaks. I pick up an iron shovel and fight them off, picking up some other good loot and XP. And then we see a ladder that leads to the ship. At the top we see a person with big goggles named Garrold. And he says he likes the way our armor sets have both looked. And he also said he could trade 2 speeders for them. We thought this was perfect as we needed some sort of transportation to get off this planet. And as we accepted his offer and placed the armor in the chest, we took the speeders. And then my friend started blasting some enemies in the hangar. They seemed to have a fast respawn rate, so we had to be quick. I spawned a 74Z speeder, and it looked awesome. My friend had a BARC speeder, B-A-R-C, and it looked like an older model, something from an older time, but still awesome to say the least. And not wasting any more time, we quickly got on and started driving through the desert. The journey was long, but we had an objective. We needed to find some sort of civilization. And luckily there was a little town a few days from where we crash landed. We wanted to go there and find a way to escape this planet. And as we were getting closer to the city gates, we used our speeders to get on a close mountain for a vantage point. We wanted to make sure there was no threat in the city. As we found a good spot, I used my rangefinders to scout out the gate, and I saw a couple of drones standing there. Luckily, I had a sniper rifle with me, and I used it to snipe out any droids we saw. And running down, we started exploring the city for anything we could use. I found 2 beds, and also going inside a room, I got nearly blown up by a creeper. Luckily, I had my blaster ready and shot him in time. While running, my friend also says he found some iron in one of the chests and hands me down an iron chest plate. I put it on, and we go inside a random house. And inside it I find a chest with a note. It reads that there was a Jedi on a green desolate planet ravaged with war. He said he can train people how to use the Force, and we thought that knowing the Force could benefit us in fighting droids later on. So before leaving town, I gathered some wheat and crafted some bread. Our plan was to find a working ship that could take us to that Jedi, and our journey was long. We needed to traverse a lot of desert, but after a few days of running, we saw a tip of a ship in the distance. It looked like a Millennium Falcon, but we had to go close to be sure. And yep, this was an abandoned airfield base of some sort. It had 3 ships stored, but one stood out because it looked like it was actually mobile. Unfortunately, it didn't have any fuel. We went inside the Millennium Falcon to see if it had any good loot, and inside I found an awesome place. This corner was where Chewbacca and the crew would play their board game, but scouting the whole ship, it was empty. So while going out, we saw a bunch of monsters hiding in the shadow of the ship and started blasting them. Their spawn rate was insane, and that made the nights even more deadlier. But traversing the desert even more, I finally see a Java vehicle. These were huge, and we wanted to find some fuel. Luckily, these guys almost had everything you can find in the desert. But coming in, I again saw some droids. We made sure not to spend any more ammo than we had to. My friend had a whole stack of ammo and rifles for us to use, but it was still in limited supply. And after we dealt with the droids, I went inside the monstrous vehicle. Inside was a creeper and a bunch of other mobs. The corridors were also insanely small, but we squeezed in and explored further until I got to really low health and we decided to bail. We started scavenging the chests outside the vehicle, and inside one I found some fuel canisters as well as some cookies. This was a really lucky find, as I don't think we'd have any other chance like this to find some free Jawa loot. So, satisfied with our expedition, we started making our way back to the old hangar base we saw a working ship at earlier. Our plan to leave the planet was becoming a reality. As we reached it, we got in and I refueled it with the fuel canisters we found. And once everything was ready, I took off. The ship had awesome foldable wings and it just looked amazing. As we flied through the air, we were onto our next goal. Reach the green planet where the Jedi the book we found in that town spoke lived in. It took days of warping through space, but we finally reached the green planet. I started looking for any signs of civilization or that of a Jedi, and found myself flying too close to the ground. I had to do a barrel roll just to scrape the mountainside, and after more exploration, our ship was suddenly shut down by a pack of droids. It started flaming in air and I started taking damage. Jumping out, I found the droids that took it down. But we had to be careful, as these guys had shields that protected them and gave them much more health. But as we started blasting, we took the one droid down. I'm not sure where the others have went because we couldn't find them anymore. But exploring more, we found more droids just patrolling about. It seemed we were in their territory. It was also getting pretty dark and we had to find some shelter quick. I started beating a tree to get some basic tools for survival. And we explored further into the forest, killing any droids we came across. Until we found an old temple. It looked abandoned. As I broke some tree leaves blocking the entrance to the second floor, I placed our beds and we decided to sleep this night off. And as we woke up with the sun rays shining at full brightness, we started making our way through all kinds of terrain. I killed some pigs and chickens along the way because we needed food to survive out in the wild. Until we came across a nice little spot by a lake. I started breaking some trees because we wanted to build a little base here to store all our items and also let us survive in this wilderness. We still had to find the mysterious Jedi that could teach us the Force. But for that, we needed to have a roof over our heads and some safety at night. So without wasting any sunlight, we started working on the house. I used a shovel to break the floor and replaced it with cobble. A quick word from our sponsor. A giveaway is happening right now. If you go to shop.thearchon.net, click on free rank, enter your username, select a realm, and then enter my coupon code CYREX, you'll get a special $5 rank that'll make the server more fun. I'll see you there. But as we made for an opening in the trees, we found a ship parked on the edge of a river. It looked old, and it stood on some wooden planks. We decided to scout it out closer to see if it could fly. And as we trekked around the pond of water from the forest, we came from behind the house. It had 2 speeders parked there, and they looked like droid ones. Definitely not the Republic. But as I crept closer, the ship was gigantic, and inside this little house, the door looked to be open. And going inside, we found Master Yoda. This was insane. And as I approached him, he greeted me by my name, welcomed me into his house, and asked if I wished to train in the ways of the Jedi. This was so cool to find Master Yoda here, and talking over with my friend the offer, we accepted it. And Yoda said that we needed to bring him lightsabers before we could commence our training. He said the dark forces grew in number in these areas, and that for us to begin the training, we had to be worthy of wielding the lightsabers. As I finished admiring his ship, I asked if we could take one of his vehicles, and he said we could take the 2 speeders in the back. As we came up, my friend sat on one, but he had all the fuel, so I asked him to give me a few canisters. I then sat on my speeder as well. And we started to drive them back home. The steering was not what we were used to, probably because they were designed for droids. But it was still a lot faster than being on foot. It also tipped over a bit from riding on all the hills, and threw me off. But I ran up to it, and we continued the journey. The speeders were also really good on any terrain, even a thick forest like this. They could destroy everything in their path, like plants and even tree leaves, except for wooden blocks. So it was fairly easy to ride them, even in the forests. But once we got closer to our base, we saw some droids that were scouting out our place. We dismounted and started blasting them. There was also a big group of them stuck in a cave. And as we cleared everything up around the base, I got back and put everything I didn't need into a chest. And we started looking for a mine. We needed to mine an ore called duranium. And we needed a lot of it if we wanted to craft the lightsabers, including the armor, because we were getting kinda tired running around in iron armor, and getting back some clone trooper armor would make us feel more like home. But going deeper into the cave, it seemed it would never end. It just kept going down. And it was nothing like we saw before. Like, this cave was huge and also deep. But that was good for us, because the duranium ore is really low underground. There were constant spiders, creepers and skeletons we had to deal with. But luckily, my blaster one-shot them. As I said before, my friend had a lot of them stacked up, so we could use them on these mobs. They were also pretty easy to craft, you just needed a lot of iron. But getting deeper, we were finally at the level the ores spawned at, and just wow, this cave was rich in them. The ores covered every wall, so I began mining some. Our objective was the uranium, but mining other ores would be useful as well, as we needed redstone and stuff to craft more tech-heavy items later on. I also found some emeralds, which was really lucky too. But after spending more time exploring the cave and mining, we decided to head back to our base using our speeders. It was already nighttime, so we went straight to bed. And in the morning, I put all the uranium ore we had in the furnace to smelt. This ore was the best in game for armor, as well as a key ingredient for the lightsabers. I checked out how cool our speeders looked, and then went for a little expedition. And returning shortly, the ore was already smelted. My friend got it and crafted us some clone armor. This armor was really heavy and had a lot of protection, so now we shouldn't have any problems fighting droids. As you could have guessed, normal game armor doesn't really protect you from a blaster shot. My friend used one of the lightsaber crystals we found in the cave to tint his armor into yellow, and we already looked more like clone troopers again, although my armor kind of reminded me of the stormtroopers for some reason. But my next goal was to get some sandstone, and crafting a pickaxe with some duranium, I went exploring for the sandstone. We would need a lot of it for the lightsaber forge. And after I finished mining enough, I went back to base and started crafting the forge. This would require a lot of materials, but that's why we were in the caves for so long. We had all the materials we needed. So I started crafting some light force stones using the sandstone and also a lightsaber crystal in the middle. After that, I combined some different items in all different ways to get more and more items. who said a lightsaber forge would be easy to craft. This is by far the most delicate process, excluding of course when it comes to the actual lightsaber. We already chose our colors and I wanted to make a green lightsaber while my friend wanted to make a blue one. But as I got the lightsaber forge crafted, I placed it inside our base and it looked awesome. Now all we needed was to gather more lightsaber parts. But one of the crafting recipes required diamonds, so I spent some time gathering them in more caves. As I got back, my friend fished us some food, and I continued crafting. I made some lightsaber circuitry, but it was still a small part of what we needed for the lightsaber. We thought maybe Master Yoda could know where are some items located, so we decided to get ready and pack to get back to his hut. We also decided to use the speeders again, as they proved to be so useful in this terrain, especially since Yoda was so far away from our base. As we took off, I kind of lost control and accidentally fell off. If you never rode a vehicle in Minecraft, then hey, you can't judge. But as we were coming closer to Yoda's place, my speeder started smoking. I guess I crashed it too many times on the way here, but thankfully it didn't explode. As I spoke to Master Yoda, he knew that we finished crafting the saber forge, and also that the circuitry for the lightsaber was done too. He said something sits deep in Sith land, somewhere abandoned. He asked if we could make the journey, and also if we required the lightsaber parts, and said he knows a place. I guessed he meant that Sith land, but anyway, talking to him more, he says we can take his ship, but be hasty and make sure to return it. That was awesome to hear because the ship looked really cool and I wanted to fly it before. So our plan now was to take it and fly it to a Sith planet. Yoda put the GPS coordinates into our ship and we started flying. It took days to reach it as the ship didn't have hyperdrive, but what can you expect from a ship this old? As we got closer to the temple, I released the ship's landing gear and went in for a smooth landing, if you could call it that. The ship is massive and these landing areas are designed for helicopter-like vehicles. But anyways, coming out I pull a lever and the door opens. Walking in further, we come across another door. Opening it with the lever too, I see a ton of droids. we start blasting them. This base looked like it was filled with them, so we had to be quick about going in, grabbing what we needed, and then leaving. But in every corridor we went, there were just endless waves of them. As I open another door, we are outside. We shoot the droids we see in the distance. And while walking on the bridge, I look at this building, and it looks pretty cool. But as the door opens, there were more of them inside. And since we cleared them, there is a casket right in the middle of this room. We think that this is the spot Master Yoda talked about. Here lies a Sith, and opening the casket, an animation and sound plays. This feels like a boss is about to appear, but luckily for us, nothing happens. I look inside and find a lot of lightsaber parts. The Sith must have been buried here with his lightsaber, and since all this time passed, his body has decomposed but not the lightsaber. So I sat in the gunner's seat and watched as we took off. The journey back would take days, but we finally got the lightsaber parts we needed. To Master Yoda, we showed him our lightsabers. He said that he will finally teach us and that he senses a strong power within us. And when we started training, it consisted of days of fighting droids Master Yoda collected around his base, perfecting our techniques. And after a few days, it was snowing outside. Me and my friend were ready for a duel, and this battle would be legendary. We start swinging at each other. I block a lot of his attacks and actually gain an advantage on him. In the end, I win the duel, and I'm declared the better fighter. As I come up to Master Yoda, he says our training is complete, and that our next task is to defeat a Sith Lord. He says one can be found in the shadowous depths of a nether fortress. So as soon as we got back to base, we didn't waste any time and started crafting a nether portal. The Sith was our final challenge in becoming a Jedi, and defeating him would let us gain his powers of the Force. We also needed flint, so I digged around some gravel beside our base and started building the nether portal. Oh boy, I didn't yet know what was waiting for us inside. So as I got some iron from the chest and crafted a flint and steel, we were finally ready to enter the dark realm of the Sith. Upon loading in, we got the luckiest spawn right inside a nether fortress, so now all we had to do was find this Sith Lord. I placed torches exploring the tunnels. Even find a chest with some gold equipment inside. But then all of a sudden someone lunges at me. It's the Sith, and by the looks it's Darth Maul. He has a dual-handed lightsaber, so the battle is tricky. Luckily we got prepared with Dynasium clone armor, so his hits don't affect me that much. But nevertheless, he is super tanky. And when we hit our final blow, he dies. He drops some XP and armor plates. We can't yet craft the armor he drops the items for, so I just store them in my inventory. And as we head on and explore the fortress even more, we are trying to find the Sith holocron. But once we get it, we start heading back to the nether portal. Our job here is done, and now all that's left is to place it inside our base and use it to learn some awesome Jedi power moves. When we get out of the portal, we are in some new place, but while I'm confused and nearly ready to go back, my friend shows me that it's right beside our base. This is really weird, as I never saw another portal spawn so close to the one we used. And as the next day begins, my friend places a special block for the Sith holocron. I place it and we look inside. This menu allows us to gain new skills, and there are a lot of them. They use XP we collected throughout these days, but luckily they don't decrease the level of our player, so we can enchant our gear if we need it. I spent all my points into learning how to throw my lightsaber, and go outside to see how it works. I then also learned the shock ability, and upgraded it into the Force Lightning, and then Force Milestorm. This was the ultimate Sith ability, and I know that we're Jedi, but it's so cool that I thought I just needed to learn this ability. The mod also works by adding a bar on the bottom right of the screen, and a 50 energy bar under the XP bar. The energy is what we used to use the powers, and the extra hotbar is where we stored the spells we used. I used only 3 slots because I didn't have any more XP for a 3rd spell. And after we had some fun with our spells, we saw a bunch of clone troopers in the distance from our base. As we came closer to them, they started blasting some droids. We quickly joined in to help them. I tried using my throw lightsaber ability, but picked up some random item into the slot, and my laser landed in my inventory. It seemed I'd need more practice with it. But as we explored the place a bit more, we found one of their ships. The clone troopers just landed here, it seems, to help fight against all the droids patrolling these lands. But with our new Jedi powers and also lightsabers, we thought we would use it to fly to the Death Star. That is where the final boss was waiting for us. And we were finally ready to fight him. As we took off with my friend as the pilot, I sat in the passenger seat and was getting ready for the big fight to come. It took a lot of time for us to reach the Death Star. It was located in space and we had to travel a lot of distance to get to it. Our plan was to break into one of their hangars and fight our way to the final Sith Lord. We then got to the Death Star, and it was big. My friend steered the ship into the hangar, exploding it, but we didn't need it anymore, so it didn't really matter. We started shooting the droids that were in the hangar. They had a lot of more different droids on the base, and these guys were a lot tougher than normal droids. I used my blaster on the faraway droids because I didn't want to get into the firefight right between them. And making our way up to the staircase, Diamond Ninja blocked the entrance with some dirt blocks to stop the deadly machines from coming in. We saw their legs through the hole below, and tried using some of our Jedi powers on them. As we made our way further into the Death Star, I threw my lightsaber into the droids. This was awesome, as it returned automatically and also did twice the damage from a distance, once it went into them from the front and then returning from the back. We then entered some type of room which was very tall. We looked down, and I hit some buttons, and then we started climbing the staircase in the middle. At the top were a bunch of droids, and even as I hit some they just encircled me. Luckily I killed them all with my blaster, and we made our way further into the corridors, shooting and eliminating all the droids we saw before us. It felt like they never ended, as more just came after you killed them. But I guess this is the main enemy base, so there's bound to be a lot of them here. But the door was open, and there were also droids there. We charged at them and killed them. Nothing is gonna stop us from reaching the Sith Lord in his throne room. We then reached an end to one of the corridors. It was an abrupt edge that led to darkness, and we had no way to get over it as we didn't bring any blocks. But luckily for us, there were jetpacks in a chest right beside the door. We took them and started flying our way to the edge. These jetpacks felt awesome and reminded me of Boba Fett, and after another door, we found ourselves in the throne room. This is where the Sith was supposed to be, but he was nowhere to be found. Instead of him, there was a group of the Dark Council. They served as the ruling body of the Sith Empire. They must have got wind of our attack and let the Sith Lord escape. The battle against them was fierce. They had more numbers, but luckily my armor was really tough and I could defend myself. The Jedi powers we also learned were really useful, as when throwing the lightsaber, it did damage to a bunch of enemies at once. And when I brought the last one down, I could still hear their screams even after death. I used my Jedi electric powers and also sealed my lightsaber. We got the Dark Council down, but unfortunately our target escaped. We needed to go to the Kamino facility in order to fight him. This was a whole another planet surrounded in constant darkness. So we had to fight 3 other countless droids just to reach the closest hangar. And when we finally reached the hangar, there were 2 Empire ships in the hangar surrounded by a bunch of droids. They must have been getting them ready to fly somewhere, but we came in and after killing the droids took the ships ourselves. The ships also looked really awesome, and as we took off, we were heading to our final battle on the Kamino planet. The Kamino facility was originally called the Tipoca City, but later renamed under the New Empire. The Sith must have hid there 100%, as that is the last safe place there was after we cleared the Death Star. As we got here, it was dark and raining. The visibility was bad, but I tried to land on an open landing space. And after a successful landing, I waited for my friend. His landing wasn't as good as mine though, but when he got closer, he gave me his Jedi robes. He said I had to face the Sith alone, as that was the prophecy Master Yoda said could defeat the Siths once and for all. So as I got closer, I killed a few droids that were guarding the entrance. And have entered a large empty room. There was no one here. I didn't know where the Sith was. But then all of a sudden, he starts sprinting behind me. I take out my blaster and fire a few shots. I go in to fight him with my lightsaber, but he does so much damage, it's insane. It's a good thing my friend gave me the Jedi robes, as my clone trooper armor would be a one-shot for his damage. When he got me really low, I started to run away. This was a time game and I had to regenerate my health before attacking him again. His movement was sporadic and unpredictable, but with my tactic of beating him and running away when my health got too low, I was able to bring him down to low health. And with my final few swings, I finally took him down. He dropped 2 lightsaber parts, which would let us craft his special 2-sided red lightsaber.
It looks something like this.
This was a big win for the Republic. Final Sith was just killed, and that meant peace around the galaxy. As we got outside, it was still raining. We got back on our ships because we wanted to go home. We completed our mission and the galaxy was safe. We also needed to repair the lightsaber that the Sith dropped, and my friend really wanted to wield it. But after our defeat at the Hoth base in the very beginning, we met Master Yoda, crafted our very own lightsabers, battled Darth Maul in the Nether, learned how to use the Jedi Force, and also went to the Death Star, defeating the Dark Council as well as the Sith Lord at the Kamino facility. If you made it this far into the video, I hope you truly enjoyed this adventure. Leave a like for part 2, comment what you want to see next. This was a blast to record, and I hope you enjoyed everything we had to show. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.